rainy day at NAMM 2017, the final day of NAMM on Sunday. And I have the wonderful pleasure of talking to one of my faves, Lisa S. Johnson of 108 Rockstar Guitars. Now there's another Lisa Johnson, and we'll get into that in a minute. But this girl, I hate to say the word badass because it's just way too small to define someone that is not only, in our opinion, you are a cultural icon because you're the first and only rock guitarist female that I've ever heard of. And I met you last year, and when I found out what you were doing, I was just totally amazed. So let's go into how you got into being able to, I know your new book came out, you had it at NAMM last year.
This is actually my first book. It came out in, the hardcover came out in fall of 2013. This big
We're going to look at the book.
One that weighs 9 pounds. It came out in fall of 2013. And then Hal Leonard came out with the softcover edition in fall of 2014.
They're so beautiful. Who did the artwork?
Oh, I have the most incredible designer in Los Angeles, Smog Design.
You want to give away the name?
Smog Design, and they are incredible. You sit down with them and you just give them what's in your vision, what you think, what you're thinking about, and not only that, just what your whole lifestyle is, because I'm a yogi and I'm into guitars and the guitar art and photography, and so they take my personality and things I tell them about my personal self, and they are just incredible how they come up with designs.
Now let's segue into how you came to be Miss Lisa S. Johnson, known for your fabulous work of photographing all of these famous rock stars, including Jimi Hendrix, who your book that is due to come out in 2018 has 4 of his guitars. Let's get that book and let's start looking and talk about how you came into doing all of this stuff in the first place.
Well, it started about in 1996. I was living in Memphis, Tennessee, working for Eastman Kodak, and I started dating the guy from church. I used to go to the Unity Church, and he was the guitar player, and he asked me out. And my father growing up told me I was not allowed to date musicians because he's a musician. So I call up Dad. I'm like, Dad, I'm dating a musician. However, he owns a vintage guitar store, and he's the guitar player at church. And he said, well, that's different. And he owns a vintage guitar store. That's great. If he ever gets in a Gibson mandolin, I've always wanted one. So 2 weeks later, he gets in this 1917 Gibson mandolin. And I said, I want to get that for my dad. How much? And he said, you can't afford it, but if you photograph some guitars for me I have to sell that I don't want to sell, I'll trade you for the mandolin. So I'm done deal.
Oh, my God.
And at the time, I was testing films, so I understood the films that I was selling for Kodak to photographers. And so I was shooting black and white film at the time and hand tinting them, hand coloring them. And it was very artful. And so that's how we wanted these guitars photographed. And so when I took the photos and I did that work, I fell in love with the guitar.
And then you just kept pursuing photos. I want to talk about what you talked about when you were telling us about you met with a psychic and that this person told you were going to do what is now a book of these guitars, and 4 of them happen to be Jimi Hendrix. I mean, come on, Lisa. Come on.
Well, actually, what you don't know is that a step of, like probably 25 years ago, there was another psychic. So I've had 2 psychics. I had one psychic. I was on some ski trip. I hurt myself. I couldn't ski for the rest of the trip. So I'm like, what am I going to do all day long when everyone's skiing? I ended up, there was this psychic, so I made an appointment. So I show up, and she actually told me in that reading, I still have that cassette tape, that I was going to publish books. I'm like, what? I wasn't a photographer.
Not even published?
I wasn't a photographer at that time. I wasn't doing, and I said, a book? And she goes, no, books. You're going to publish books. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I still have that tape. So now fast forward to about...
How long did it take for it to manifest?
Well, I started shooting in 1996, so it took 17 years for the first book to come out because I worked for Eastman Kodak full-time. I then opened 2 yoga studios, so this was like a side project. And then finally in 2000, I closed a studio, I sold a studio, I left Kodak, and I said I'm going to work on this full time, and that was in 2008. So then the book published in 2013. So yeah, and then when I was ready to publish it, I was getting close to pub date. I went to India. I'm a yogi, and I went to India, and
I'm a practitioner of yoga.
Right on. Same here, and a yoga teacher. And I was with my teacher in India, and in India, most Indian families have the family astrologer. And because
They are more accurate. They deal with numbers and cycles. Absolutely.
yes, and when you get married, or you're going to have a baby, or you're doing a funeral, they do the charge for the right day you should have the funeral, the right day you should get married. So I said I'd like to speak with him because I need to find the title for my book. And I wanted it to be Rock Star Guitars because I wanted the title to be obvious what the book was about. And everyone does the 100 greatest and the 101 greatest, and I wasn't happy with that. So I was sitting with this astrologer, and I say, I need to find a book name, and what do you think? And he's like, well, it's really obvious. He said, you're a yogi, and there's cosmic element to this and to music. It should be 108.
And 8 is a magical number. That's a power number, number 8.
It is, and in India, you know how we have the emergency boxes in the road signs? Okay, in India, the number to call for emergency is 108. Yeah.
Oh.
Ours is 911. In India,
theirs is 108.
Yeah. Yeah, because the number 108 symbolizes endings and beginnings, transformation.
If you count 1, 0, and 8, that's the number 9.
That's correct. And within the 9 are 3 threes. 3 plus 3 plus 3. Body.
I love that you're into that.
Son, Holy Spirit, Brahma,
Me too.
Vishnu, Shiva. You know, it's huge. It's huge. There's a whole Wikipedia page on the number 108.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. That's why I'm laughing when I was like, oh, that's where it came from.
There's a website that's called The Meaning of the Number 108.
Okay, for all of you numerologists out there and people that are into astrology, I love astrology personally. And the astrology that Lisa S. Johnson was talking about is called horary astrology, where they do astrology based on a specific question and asking somebody about a specific time or an event. That's horary. Natal is when they talk about a person's birth chart. So for those of you that don't know that information, this is how this girl got to where she's doing. She listened to her inner guides and they led her to where she needed to be. Now let's move forward and talk about the new book.
Well, first I'll finish the psychic story.
Okay, go.
I ended up coming in, spending a lot of time in LA, and this guy is a channeler. And
After you came back from India.
yeah, like now, like
And you lived in LA before going to India?
10 years later, I'm back from India, and I live in Las Vegas, and then I spend a lot of time in LA. And so this guy was a channeler. His name's Riz Mirza, and someone I knew him. And so I went over to his place, and you can have this reading where his channels will speak to you. And so he said, I never met this guy. I didn't tell him anything. I'm sitting there, and I have it on my phone.
We believe it.
He said, I'm feeling, he says, the first thing I'm feeling here is that what I'm being told is that you are working on a really huge music project of some kind, and it involves music and instruments or something. And I said, well, that's pretty cool, because
I like that.
I'm doing a book on guitars. And he said like, I'm not joking. He's like, I'm just like feeling Jimi Hendrix is here right now, and he's giving you his blessing on this project. I'm
Jimmy!
just telling you that it evokes emotion, because I was like, wow, and I felt it too, and I have felt Jimmy's presence ever since that time.
And when I saw, to be honest with you, when I saw those guitars in your book, it was like, wow.
He wants
it's
this.
a light up.
He wants this, so I'm really honored to have 4 of his guitars in this upcoming book.
You have the book with you today?
I have the preview of what Volume 2. Sure. Let me grab it here.
There you go. Can you get
This
that
one
on
here.
camera for us? Her book?
This one here is Jimmy's Love Drops Flying V.
And you were talking about something about the wings on it.
Well, what happened with this guitar is that somebody ended up with it after he passed. Somebody had it, and they completely shaved it. They took all the paint job off of it.
Why? Do you know why?
There's definitely no good reason. And at any rate, it ended up in good hands with the current owner, who had it repainted exactly how it was painted originally. So it's back to its original state, and now it's at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where I got to photograph it. It was my last photo session of 2016, December 12th, 2016. And the same, then at the beginning of this year, there was the Malibu Guitar Festival, and I had a
You also said you used some certain kind of fabric to do that particular guitar on.
I found Well, I did the Malibu Guitar Festival this past summer in Malibu. I decorated it with a lot of images. And the day I left that festival, I flew to Seattle to photograph the white Woodstock Strat. And I knew that shoot was coming up, and so this shoot took me 2 years to orchestrate. So I had this purple velvet background that I got, and I am going to have an outfit made that no other guitar.
That compliments.
No other guitar will be photographed on this background. I'm going to wear Jimmy's guitars laid on. So I shot this one, and I kept the background because I'm going to have an outfit made. And then these guitars came up. I didn't even know I was going to get to shoot these. And then, so that was at the Experience Music Project, the White Strat, and this one was at the Rock Hall. And I still had the background. And at the Rock Hall, they had a whole display of his outfits that he wore, and there's one that is just perfect. The bell.
I like that purple coat that he wore.
Took pictures of it, so I'm gonna try to have this fabric made into my Jimmy outfit.
I like when he would wear purple and orange together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that purple and orange. That's the one.
Yeah, it's there. I know.
So, boy, Lisa, I know we have to go because our show is only 15 minutes long, but you are so precious. And thank you for talking to me and your encouragement.
It's my pleasure.
Because, you know, we females have to stick together.
Yeah, that's right.
And just so you guys know, Lisa S. Johnson, there's another Lisa Johnson that is a rock guitarist, but she is
also badass, let me tell you.
She's very badass according to this Lisa Johnson.
She shoots rock and roll.
What is the difference between what she does and what you do?
She shoots the bands and I shoot the guitars.
Oh, wow.
And
so there's no competition.
Veteran rock journalist Lon Friend back in the day put Nirvana on the cover of Rip magazine, and he hired Lisa Johnson to photograph Nirvana for the cover. And then in 2013, I had my book launch event. My publicist invited, where's Lisa Johnson? And my publicist was standing right there, and he goes, well, she's right here. And he turns around, hey, and I went, hey, and he gives me a big hug, and he goes, but you're not Lisa Johnson. I go, yeah, I am. He goes, no, you're not. And so
that's how you found it was another Lisa?
That's how Lon and I, no, I knew.
Oh, you already knew of her.
Lon didn't know there was another Lisa. And so now Lon and I work closely together. We ended up doing the Dave Grohl guitar shoot together, and we invited Lisa Johnson to come and be a part of it, and they had so much fun at the studio because they're like, we can't even believe there's two Lisa Johnsons in the studio.
Wow, that's an amazing story.
There's so many stories.
And I know that you were also, really quickly before we get out of here, I know that you're also, you said you were on one of the panels or something with the rock, the women's rock.
Oh, I am a sponsor of the She Rocks Awards, which is every Friday here at NAMM, and it's one of the most kick-ass events that you can go to at NAMM.
They had it this year too, didn't they?
Yes, every year. This was the 4th year, and this year they honor women in music, and this year they honored Lita Ford as the Icon Award.
Yes, hi Lita.
Yeah, and her guitar is featured in my this next upcoming book too, with Hendrix and Kurt Cobain and Dave Grohl and
all the other goodies you guys.
Paris, Billy Sheehan, Billy Duffy.
That's wonderful to know. Okay, so can you give a shout out to your social media where we can find out more about you? 108 rock star guitars. Yep. Lisa S. Johnson. How can we find out more? Go.
On Facebook, you can find me.
Okay.
On Facebook, you can find me 108rockstarguitars.com.
You have Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram.
See, Twitter is 108. There's so many of them. I can't even remember. Okay, Twitter is 108RS Guitars, and Instagram is 108 Rockstar Guitars. Same thing with Facebook, 108 Rockstar Guitars, and my website 108rockstarguitars.com.
Okay, so you can find her everywhere. Just look for 108 Rockstar Guitars, and you will find and see the beautiful Lisa S. Johnson. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. I love you.
Thank you, Cyrus.